Yay! Oh, cool. So,
So we're live?
so do I share that link, or do I just use the share button within Facebook to get it in various places?
You can share the link.
Okay. Try
So,
that out.
welcome everybody to the Book Club with Booze. We are featuring Michael Stephen Fuchs, who is a co-author of the Arisen series. He co-authored with Glenn James. They started the series back in 2012, and book 12 will be coming out in 10 days, which is titled Carnage. So be ready for that. Michael was a writer for the manuscript and Pandora Sisters, as well as the series D-Boys, which are all very successful all on their own. So that's Michael. Also, too, if we want to try and keep in mind while we're doing the Q&A, if we can try not to talk over one another during in TeamSpeak, just so everybody has, can say what they need to say. So I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Julia, or Robin Sparkles, as you'll see on the TeamSpeak. Ethan, do you want to introduce yourself, if everybody can introduce themselves?
Hey, I'm Ethan, one of the DB Nerds admins. I'm here because this series is amazing.
Yes.
I'm Lindsay, also known as Lady Beck Sausage. I am the co-host of Jeopardy with Miss Robin Sparkles, and other than that, I am just here as a fan.
All right, and I think Neil is away from the...
I'm back.
Okay, Neil.
I just didn't want to interrupt. I'm Neil. I'm here because the Derek Zoolander School for Kids Who Can't Read Good and want to do other stuff good suggested I be here and read these books. I'm the founder of Nerds and one of our admins, and I like books.
Books are good.
More pictures, the better.
Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Lisa, and I'm here because Julia recommended this book to me, and I'm glad she did, because I've been kind of bowled over by how much I've enjoyed it.
Darkshire,
Yes.
would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Darkshire, also known as Mike. I'm one of the streamers from DB Nerds Twitch.
Yay for Twitch and video games. Joseph?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Joseph. Julie recommended the book to me in a non-stop go ride.
I feel like I'm the pusher. Usually it's Ethan who's pushing all the stuff on people.
I have a nickname as Admin Pusher Man.
Now it is Pusher Man and Woman.
There you go. And then, Michael, did you want to do a little introduction for yourself?
Yeah, what to say? This is me. Thanks very much for A, picking the book, and B, letting me hang out. It's a real honor and a privilege, not least due to all the active duty and veterans in the group. So glad to be here.
Well, we are very honored to have you. And I guess one of the first things I guess we could really talk about is how you give your books away to the veterans and active duties. Would you like to tell us what how that kind of started out?
How did that start out? It's nothing. It's not a big deal. I don't feel like anybody who's served should have to pay for anything I've written. And particularly the ebooks, it doesn't cost me anything to give them away. It's a really easy thing to do, and it's the very least those guys deserve. Not least because there would absolutely be no books of mine without the real exploits of military personnel, particularly the special operations guys. Not to mention that there would be no Western civilization to have books in if it weren't for our people in the military.
Well, it's really generous of you. And if anybody wants the link to for the free books, we can put that and we can get them for you. So I said earlier that you did a live, or that you used to co-author with Glenn James. How was it to actually write with how was it to co-write with someone?
Kind of surprisingly and strangely great, actually. You go through life as an aspiring author, and they tell you, well, it's really isolating, and you need to join a writers group and get some support. And for years, my position was the last thing I want to do is hang out with a bunch of other wannabe unpublished writers. But it turns out something really is missing, because you come up with this stuff and you shoot it off into the dark, and nothing happens, and maybe years later a book comes out of it. But writing with Glenn, we would be in a chat room every day together, and so you'd have these ideas, and they'd bounce off the other guy and spark back at you in some crazy new form that you hadn't even imagined, and it was really gratifying. It was great.
I bet it was really interesting to be able to work off of one another like that.
Yeah, and he's just a really high quality human being, and it was great to partner with, and I really am grateful to be able to do that. Can I have my drink now?
Of course.
This being book club of booze.
You should actually tell everybody what you're drinking. I think that would be par for the course in this group.
Sure. I have in my possession 3 pints of excellent dry 6% cider from Herefordshire. And I'm sure most people listening know what's in Herefordshire, namely Hereford. And they know what's there, which is the SAS barracks. So it seemed apt. Plus, it's really, really tasty. I'm sorry, I've been looking forward to this part. It's been kind of a long year.
Well,
what's everyone else drinking?
Joseph, I know what you're drinking.
Yeah, I'm drinking Lead Slingers and Dr. Pepper, actually.
Dr. Pepper.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Anybody else drinking anything?
I'm drinking a Chick-fil-A Arnold Palmer.
Chick-fil-A has the best lemonade ever.
I'm drinking water because 3:45 a.m. comes really early.
You fucking animals, you party fucking animals.
Hey man, I'm looking down.
Magner's Irish Pear Cider.
Nice, another cider drinker.
Nice. Neil, you're not drinking?
Yingling, America's oldest beer.
Which is probably nothing on Michael's beer, since that's from England. Probably somewhere super old.
You can get Sam Adams all over the place here now. Best beer in America.
I don't know about that.
That's their slogan. It has to be true.
No, Pyrat, which is a Belgian beer, you can get that in America, and that's probably the best one. Or any Trappist that comes from Belgium.
I'm having...
This half of it's 12%. It's on your backside. Sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all right. I'm having a Buffalo Bills Orange Blossom Cream Ale.
That sounds really good.
It is.
That's right up my alley. I like orange stuff. Orange Blossom Pilsner is my favorite beer, but I cannot find it only in the state of Florida, so...
Well, Florida's a very special place, as we all know.
Yes.
Special is one word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay lives there right now.
I've only been there once.
I spent a whole year in it last year, doing the whole peninsula. It was really fun.
I hear the Indian name for Florida means Satan's asshole.
I wouldn't doubt it.
British British people have this weird obsession with Florida that took me years to understand. All it is that it's really sunny and it's relatively close.
And the complete opposite of what these do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, all right, I'm going to ask kind of like an easy question, but if you had to pick any zombie movie, which one would you watch?
Oh God, there's so many confessions tonight. I think I had actually never read a zombie book before I started writing them, and I wasn't particularly well versed in the movies either. But I made it an object of research. World War Z, no one can argue with. I mean, the book wasn't anything to do with the movie, but the movie was still good. And 28 Days Later, almost the original, really scary fast zombies, written by Alex Garland. That's good stuff too.
That's awesome. But I have to argue with the 28 Days Later aren't zombies thing. Because I give everybody shit about it.
Because what?
Because they're not real zombies?
Yes, they're infected with the rage virus, but everybody's got their own pet term for it.
Yeah, right? You have to be reanimated to become zombies.
Okay, fair enough.
But I really enjoyed 28 Days Later because I like the fast zombies. And I think that's, did that influence it a little bit?
Yeah, probably. There's sort of the canon stuff with Dawn of the Dead, the Romero stuff, where they're stumblers with their arms out. And then when they got fast, they got scarier. And we were like, what can we do to be even scarier than that? So we opened the book with like a third type of zombie that's meant to be, I don't know, amping that up. So yeah, I'd say it was an influence. World War Z was a huge influence because when we were writing book 5, the movie hadn't even come out yet, but the trailer had, and they had those, great flowing waves of zombies raging through Jerusalem and elsewhere, and I basically totally stole that for the Storm of the Dead that comes off the coast to attack the carrier. Not even from the movie, but from the trailer.
I have really enjoyed that movie. I read the books too. The books were really, really good. Both of his, Max Brooks, and he even did a graphic novel that was quite enjoyable. That was like The History. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I have. I haven't read it. He's a smart guy. The book is a wonderful sociological study. Basically, for him to illustrate so graphically what happens when society breaks down, you have to understand a lot about how society works in the first place, and I think he really does.
Yeah, it was great. Like, actually, I don't think the movie did it justice because it was such a complex story for World War Z to cover so many different regions and so many different things. For the movie to just tell one person's story, it was kind of a buzzkill.
Yeah, I think it was like $1 million film rights deal, and they basically paid $1 million for those 3 letters and threw everything else away and wrote an original screenplay.
Yes, that is so true.
If you haven't seen the honest trailer for World War Z trailer, that's really, really good. It has a list of everything wonderful from the book that's missing in the movie.
I will need to watch that. That sounds really good. What I really did like was the David Morse's part, where he was the North Korean spy, and they pulled out all of his teeth. I thought that was kind of a cool touch.
He's a great character actor.
He is. My dad looks just like him. Side note, nobody cares,
Right.
But people actually asked him for his autograph. He looks so much like him.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's great. So speaking of movies and whatnot, somebody asked if you could choose for the Arisen series to be either film or a TV show, which would you choose?
Neither of the above. I always sort of, my wild imaginings, thought about like a 14-part HBO miniseries by the same guys who did Generation Kill. I thought miniseries would be a good format for it.
I think that's brilliant.
Nice.
We've had a tiny bit of interest from Hollywood, which has been really flattering. But the thinking was either a miniseries or maybe write it as a 3-part film. But it is a lot of story.
Well, I mean, the 3-part film could be just prologues.
We could do a Hobbit on it and get the films out of one book.
Yes, there you go. Peter Jackson it. You said to me... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that was the problem with trying to film World War Z, is it wasn't structured in any way like classical storytelling. so they really did have to start over, pick and choose a few bits.
Yeah, a mini-series would be amazing. And actually, somebody from your page asked a question. Hey, Junior.
Never fear, I'm here. For a little bit, till my phone dies.
Junior, do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
I am Junior Burns, otherwise known as the Bat Admin. I've read 8 of your books. I love them.
And you're a tanker.
Yeah, and a tanker. That's the most important part.
Hey, it is to me.
So, there was actually somebody who asked a question on your page that I wanted to bring up since we're on the topic of TV shows and movies. His name was Duncan Williams, and he asked, any thoughts on which characters you would want to play the characters you've created in whatever series you could have?
Yeah, this is a game people like to play, and in fact, some readers have gotten really enthusiastic about it to the point where they do these elaborate graphics with pictures of the actors and the names of the characters superimposed over them.
I need to see these.
I'll send you a link. I got it somewhere.
Yes.
The one that stuck in my head was Dwayne Johnson as Predator. I thought that was pretty good.
Dwayne Johnson as Predator?
Yeah.
That is
He's big enough. And you hear Jason Statham for Wesley sometimes, which I think they're kind of cool. I'm kind of agnostic on these topics. I won't have any input on those decisions anyway.
Why get your hopes up?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
If you had to choose a role for Matt Best as one of your characters, what character would you have him play?
That's a good question.
I think the short answer is any character he wants to play. He's absolutely welcome. He'd be great. I don't know. Maybe it's a fascinating question. Who would he be good as? If he really toned it down, I was thinking that if he really toned his shtick down, he could be Homer.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
That is good.
Yeah. Or if he did the beard a little and thickened up a little, he could be Juice, maybe.
I was just gonna say I would like him to be as Juice. That would be my personal preference, but that's because I love Juice.
Yeah, but Julia, then that would be Matt Best and The Rock, and Rocco would be so pissed.
Rocco would be pissed.
That's very true.
That is very true.
Hey, Jenna, I didn't see you get on.
It is known.
Hi.
Jenna, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jenna, and I'm one of the admins for Drinking Bro Nerds. And the one from the picture yesterday.
With the pretty girl by the lake.
Oh, fantastic. Glad to meet you.
Nice
and
to
the
meet you.
Photoshop zombies.
Yes, with Brandy Couture
Yeah.
coming after her.
Those were priceless.
Okay, so since we did the poll and you did vote for Allie as your favorite character, who would be your least favorite character if you had to choose one?
My least favorite character?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I don't know. Who do I hate writing? When Glenn and I sort of amicably parted and he left the series, I inherited a lot of his characters. And for a while, I was kind of excited about doing interesting character things with them. But then I realized, so I was interested in them as a project, but then I realized to a certain extent, there were other characters that the readers were more interested in, and I needed to put my time there, so I pared back a little bit. That's weird. They say it's said, or it's axiomatic, that every character is a little tiny aspect of the author. So I don't know if you can actually hate any of them, because they're all you.
Right.
Way.
Okay, that's a good question. Go ahead.
I'll have to think about it. Someone will occur to me. Another of many problems with the series is it's literally a cast of thousands, so there must be someone in there I don't like.
Hey, so Michael, I have a question.
Please.
Okay, so I mean, I'm only familiar with this series of books. Have you written any more books?
Yeah, one or two. I have another series called D-Boys, which is sort of straight special operations, military adventure stuff. And it's only got 2 books in it, but I'd like to get back to that at some point. And it does have some fans, which is very flattering and humbling. And I wrote 2 books before that were published by an actual proper traditional old school publisher that are sort of philosophical cyber thrillers, if that makes any sense. And every once in a while, the Arisen readers go back and find those, and they don't seem to like them all that much, which is understandable. And then I've got a volume of short stories, which no one anywhere has read, or certainly likes, but I like it.
Awesome. I mean, just another suggestion. There's always room for tankers in your books.
Yeah, totally. Well, people have asked, as I said, there are going to be just a couple more main series books, and after that, the sky's the limit. I can play with all kinds of scenarios anywhere on the earth, all kinds of military units. Tankers would be good.
No, you're good. Stick with the infantry and special operations. No one likes tankers.
Everybody hates tankers until they need to hide behind a tank, Neil.
We don't hate tankers anymore. We've got javelin missiles.
And
throw some field artillery there, and while you're at it.
And you can get out of there a lot quicker with a Black Hawk than you can on foot. Just saying.
Yeah.
Or some
And
cows,
without
people.
transport, you all sit around and do nothing but be infantry and walk. Thank you.
There's nothing wrong with humping.
Yeah. We all started with field marches anyway.
I can agree with that, Neil, although I'm
So since you have such a strong understanding of like the weaponry and military, do you have any background in it, or what really pushes you to write in this genre?
Yeah. It's really flattering that people ask that. I do not have the honor of having had military service. I was a self-involved little punk when I was in military age. Obviously, I have friends who have served and are serving. I know one or two friends in the special operations community. And it's just hard not to be struck by the fact that we have real-life superheroes walking around, which are special operators. It's kind of crazy that they make these superhero movies again when we have real-life versions. But you read it, I write basically straight from research, but I read everything. When you read this stuff over and over, you just get really struck by a theme I find really interesting is the perfectibility of man, and these people who make it into the elite special operations units are really just unbelievably high-quality individuals, not just super commandos who can move, shoot, and communicate, but guys who have language skills, guys who have full skills, guys who have technology skills, just really amazing human beings. So it's a blast to write about them.
Well, when you said real life superheroes, one of our questions was, since we are nerds and this interview is for a nerd group, who would be your favorite superhero or comic book hero?
Say Deadpool.
Yeah, this one would be outed as not sufficiently nerdy. Yeah, let's go with Deadpool. I love Deadpool.
Yay.
You say top tier. You have to love Deadpool.
Neil, let's just remind Neil that he can't rep Deadpool since him or Joe couldn't get the easiest Deadpool question ever.
Which is what?
Who was the answer is Bay Arthur, but it was like, who was the lady that Deadpool was in love with or something?
Yeah, who Deadpool had a crush on back in the day, and it's B. Arthur from the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
They even got, who was his Silver Fox crush? Come on, guys.
Hint.
For shame.
True.
For shame on your house.
We were drunk.
I'm pretty sure Doc could have got
When
it.
are you not?
Okay, got a question for you, Mr. Fuchs. What is the status on Book 11 audio-wise? One of the members was asking that.
Yeah, the audiobook fans, man, they scare me. They're really rabid.
Because they gotta wait longer than the rest of us readers, I'm just saying.
They do. They have to wait longer. The other thing is I can't believe how much they pay. I put up these ebooks and I charge like $2.99 or $3.99 for them. But we actually sold the audiobook rights to a publisher, the same guys who did The Martian originally. And they were kind of up and coming, and they were really keen. And we turned them down twice because we were like, we're not, we really don't want to sell out. But finally, we were like, we're not doing anything with them, and they offered this advance. So what the hell? We figured that was all the money we ever seen. But the book, they've done really great, the audiobooks, but they charge $29.95 for these things. So like if I drag out the series a little bit, the ebook readers are like, okay, another $2.99. The audiobook readers are showing out serious money, and yeah, they have to wait. There are these long delays. The production, mainly the best thing about the audiobooks is the performer R.C. Bray, who's this god among audiobook narrators. And I'm absolutely convinced he brings a lot more readers to the series than the writers do, which is great for us. But he's really in demand, so scheduling him is the rub. So we filled all this email from guys who are just frantic to find out when the next. Not answering your question. There's no word on book 11 yet. The delays have gotten shorter. Podium Publishing have gotten on the stick, and they've recognized that they need to keep these moving fast. And so 10 just came out yesterday, I think, or the day before. And I am optimistic that 11 and 12 will hit the ground with shorter delays than in the past. And I work very hard to keep everyone posted, on Facebook and Twitter and email and stuff. So if you're on the Facebook group or the email list, you will absolutely hear it first as soon as there's any news about new audiobooks.
Awesome. And rumor is you are a University of Georgia grad.
Rumor, as so often, is incorrect. I attended the University of Georgia for 1 year, my freshman year, which was a great experience, and I'm glad to have done transferred.
I said you were a dog. I didn't know if you graduated or not.
That's awesome. I'm a gigantic Georgia fan. Just throwing that out there.
Cool. I have a sister who is a grad of UGA.
My sister went to grad school there.
Yeah, actually, I have another sister who went to grad school. Now that you remind me, one undergrad and one grad. I have a lot of sisters.
You do have a lot of sisters. Is that why you have kick-ass female characters in your books?
It's an interesting connection that I had not considered, but yeah, I've often said that my sisters are the best thing about me. They're pretty fantastic, so maybe that does connect.
On that note, on the Facebook feed, people who would play Allie in the movie.
Yeah, I have no idea. Someone suggested the actress who plays Michonne in The Walking Dead. Shouldn't be bad. I don't know if I should say this. She sort of was very loosely originally based on the activist and politician and feminist Somali woman Ayan Hirsi Ali, who doesn't happen to be an actor, but that's who I sort of visualize. She wrote some really great books. If you get a chance to check them out. She wrote the script to the film that got Theo Van Gogh knifed to death in Amsterdam for his anti-Islam views. So she's kind of a political hot button, but very brave.
I see Allie as like a Grace Jones type from Conan.
All right.
That's
hotter,
who I see.
would hope.
Yeah, well, I think Grace Jones is hot, so I don't know.
Okay.
I saw her more as Jennifer Lawrence, but that's because I'm a big J-Law fan. And she's been in a lot of action movies here recently.
I don't know why.
It doesn't come off as tough enough to me.
No. She couldn't ever come off as tough enough.
Yeah, I was seeing in the Facebook comments earlier how unexpectedly she just turned out to be the superhero of the series, a notch or two even above all the other Tier 1 guys. Totally unflappable and perfectly badass.
By the way, that may be my only knock on the audiobook, which is narrator flawlessly captures all the voices, but does not do a great female voice.
Yeah, I think it's a tough challenge.
I wouldn't expect him to, yes.
I manage it somehow. This other guy who does my does audiobooks for D-Boys, and he's super talented, but he struggles a little bit. In fact, I have another book. One of my early books is written in the first person from the point of view of a female protagonist, and he was talking about doing an audiobook version of that, but he basically have to be mocking up a female voice the entire book, so he passed sensibly.
Get Jesse Wiseman to do it. She's great at voice work.
She's one of the actresses in Range 15.
All right, got it. I finally saw that a couple days ago, by the way. It was fantastic.
Oh, did you? I was going to ask if you've seen it.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Some of it was a little boundary pushing, if I may put it that way. I'd leave it to them to be fearless.
I don't know. My favorite scene was like the bar scene.
Oh, the dick stealing scene by far.
I haven't seen it yet.
Ooh, Michelle Rodriguez would be good.
You're slacking.
There you go. Now you're talking. That's
I can see
Oh
that.
yeah,
That's Lindsay.
yeah. Michelle Rodriguez, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Or Ronda Rousey.
Can't act
No,
worth a shit.
we need somebody who can act.
Okay, yeah.
See her in Furious 6, like, it was painful.
Yes, it was painful, but she does have the fighting background. So
She's a fighter. Let her fight. We don't need her acting. That's why she lost. Because she was too busy messing around, not fighting.
touche. But yes, I agree with Michelle Rodriguez.
Now you guys are getting me excited. I try not to think too much about this because the full version is one of those things that will happen when it happens. But now suddenly it just seemed like kind of a neat prospect.
Fun to speculate.
Well, we do know some guys that can make some great B-movie role of this.
It's an interesting point. I was a huge Matt Best fan before actually when I found out he was involved with Drinking Bros, and Julia passed, I think, one of his messages on to me, and the fact that he knew that I existed was a deep thrill.
So I don't think we got to hear your answer. If you had to be a superhero, who would it be? We got no. Okay.
He
If you
was,
had to
he
choose
was
your least favorite-
influenced. He was highly
He was
influenced.
influenced.
It was super clever. It was very visual. It got some of its effect from just being, pushing boundaries again. But I shouldn't admit this because I'm going to destroy my nerd credentials, but I sort of swore off the Marvel films. And the writing started really falling down. It just started to seem like a money grab. But I sort of held my nose and went to see Deadpool and was very, very pleasantly surprised.
You're referring to the latest comics. I agree with that.
Mm.
And Dr. Deadpool is now Dr. Dadpool.
Yes, you can hear my child in the background.
Oh, who's this, Rhodes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You did the video?
That is correct.
That was so fantastic. I was really just completely
Thank you very
knocked
much.
out by that. And then,
Thank you.
Then when Julia told me your background as well, I was additionally knocked out. People who do combat medicine are just absolutely the real deal in my view, and I have more respect than I can say for people who do that kind of work.
I'm flattered. Thank you. Just doesn't believe I'm a real doctor.
I saw the photo. I saw the meme.
Oh yeah, bitch, I operate.
Exactly.
Fucking quitter. Left the enlisted life to become a fucking officer and doctor and going to school and stuff.
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
My grandfather was a corpsman in the Pacific, and he somehow survived 6 frontline beach landings, which is an awful lot of bullets and shrapnel. That if they'd gone a few inches another way, you'd be reading somebody else's book right now.
So while we're on that subject, I did have a question, so I thought it was really cool how you make zombie virus and RNA virus, and you must have done research. Having known a little about this, there are other RNA viruses that are similar. Rabies, for one. HIV mutates like crazy. Those are both RNA viruses. Also very difficult to treat. And the way it's described in the book is pretty accurate. So, how did you do like a lot of research, or did you get experts in on that, or how did you all that?
Thanks for the great validation. One of the best parts of this job is hearing from military people who validate that the military stuff is accurate. This is one of the first times I've gotten that kind of feedback on the medical stuff. So thanks for that. Yeah, no, just doing online research. It's doing research is a hell of a lot easier than writing. So sometimes you go down that rabbit hole pretty far, and but it's basically stuff online. I can't think that I had anyone in particular that I talked to about that. He's trying to make it, plausible. And the thing about rabies, by the way, is a good observation. Bear that in mind because that's going to come back, actually.
Hey guys, I think we have a few questions in chat. People are trying to ask. If you could read them off.
I can't find them. I'm trying to. It does really play a lot later. I wasn't trying to give too much away, but it definitely plays off later in the. When does it start to? Like book 10, correct?
What are you talking about? The rabies stuff?
Yeah.
No, that's going to be like book 14.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
I literally finished book 1 like 3 hours ago.
Well, thanks. I'm flattered whenever anybody reads any of my books. I never expect anybody.
One of the people asked.
Somebody would like to ask you what's your biggest influence as a writer. Go ahead. What are your biggest influences as a writer?
Another embarrassing moment. I'm like a terrible, egregious literature snob. I don't tend to read the kind of stuff I write. You know, in my free time, I read Graham Greene and Somerset Maugham and Henry James and stuff that's a little less pacey than what I actually write. That said, there are a few things sort of. My biggest influence by far, actually, is the military memoirs of Special Operations community guys. Some of these people are just incredibly literate and sensitive and articulate observers of the really extreme situations that they've been in their careers. And so I read that stuff over and over again, and that's what it gives me the detail to make the stuff I write believable, but it also passing through sort of the mindset and the attitude of those guys. That's what gets me up in the morning and inspires me. And in fact, in many ways, those guys saved definitely my writing career and arguably my life because they have this magic bullet for succeeding at life. It was usefully encapsulated. I don't know if you've read any of Brandon Webb's books. He wrote The Red Circle was his memoir. He's a Navy SEAL guy and a sniper instructor. And in just a couple of words, he summed it up very well. The context was he was doing one of his many tests at sniper school when he was going through as a student. And the instructors actually made one of the targets come up only halfway. And it was like the pressure was massively on. It was an incredibly critical thing for him. And the target only comes up halfway. And he can hardly hit it. And so, but they did that on purpose. And so he wanted to complain about it. But the lesson was the following 6 words: tough, deal with it, adapt, and overcome. And with those 7 words, actually, we kind of almost can't lose at life. And so the bracket I'm in, it's kind of a challenging one, and most people don't make it, and there are a lot of setbacks. But seeing the incredible challenges that these guys overcame in training and operationally, and never giving up once, it started to occur to me that maybe I just need a little resilience and mental resolve to get through it. And so, that's what inspires me, in a word, or a lot of words. Any other questions from the comments?
Going through them right now. Sorry.
I have I got a few weapons questions. Your descriptions. Ooh. Now again, for disclosure, I've only read the first book, so I don't know how this plays out later on. But your descriptions of the weapons, even the accessories, calibers, and all that, is also on point. And I heard you say earlier you actually never served.
No, as I said, I do not.
I was actually surprised to learn that because you're so familiar with everything.
Well, America's a funny old country, and I can play with anything. I was a gun owner when I lived in the U.S. for many years, and my best friend is still a certified gun nut. And so when I go back, I hang out with him, and he lets me play with some really fun hardware, and that allows me to get some more of the details right. And then I'm just obsessive about it. I don't know why.
For a follow-up gun question.
Upstigay would like to says. Okay.
Hey, Tommy's here.
Hi.
Tommy.
Hey, Tommy.
Hey.
And David.
Do your pull-ups yet?
I hear you munching on something.
David also joined.
Hey, David.
And what was the follow-up gun question?
For all the weapons you've written in your novels, one, what was your favorite? And two, what would you personally take in a zombie apocalypse?
Gun porn, everyone loves it. I don't know, for some reason I kept going back to Juice's SIG SG-553 assault rifle, which is a lovely piece of hardware. Oh, and the new major gun porn component is Noise's Auto Assault 12 full auto combat shotgun. That's fun. This came up, I think, in one of the discussions online, and I think I went with the Benelli Tactical with the EOTech and Tactical Surefire Tactical Light, and as a backup, maybe an FN high capacity 45 with a Wakizashi Samurai short sword for a melee weapon. That was where I came down. I should hesitate long before getting political, but I'm a big Gary Johnson supporter, and there's a little interview clip of him, and they asked him 50 random questions, and one was, in the zombie apocalypse, what's your weapon of choice? And without missing a beat, he says, shotgun, and I thought, okay, I'm voting for this guy. He knows what's what.
I don't know if you saw it, but I did a video this weekend where I tested out a few of my weapons, and shotgun was definitely the weapon of choice.
Yeah, I enjoyed that video very much. That was fantastic stuff.
Thank you.
Well,
with your fancy new gun.
Yeah, and it resulted in me buying a new gun. Thank you very little.
Oh, like.
So Dutch to Gray says, why did you decide to go with a mixed SOF team instead of all US or Brit or any other Euro spec ops?
It's kind of like, I don't know, kid in the candy store. I just could use anybody I wanted, so I sort of picked favorite units. I might do it a little differently if I did it now. I know more than I did then, and there's certainly some European and Israeli units that are deserving of representation, but came down the way it came down.
And he follows another really...
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I had a follow-up melee question.
Okay,
go ahead.
So, it may come into play in the other books, but did you ever consider like a Nepalese kukri as a adequate melee zombie weapon?
No, but I can picture it. That sounds really cool.
It was in my video.
Oh, right. Yes, right. Something about Mount Everest.
Mount Everest the pussy. That's right.
I'm going to Nepal in November. Maybe I can pick one of those up.
If you can meet a Gurkha,
yeah, right.
They are some hard motherfuckers.
Holy hell! Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's actually where I got the kukri from. It was a Nepalese guy who was at a gun show in Louisiana. Sold it to me.
Yeah, I know some British Forces guys, and I think any of them will tell you the same thing.
Did y'all hear about the Gurkha in Afghanistan that beat Taliban to death with a tripod?
Yes. That was awesome.
No, I did not hear that.
He ended up being on his own, was being overrun by Taliban forces, ran dry on ammo, and picked up the tripod of his machine gun and beat 3 Taliban to death with it.
That was after he killed one with a shovel and broke it.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
That is badass.
These are not people you fuck.
No, these are your drinking buddies and never your drinking enemies.
These people have been the hardest people in the world to kill for like the last 1,000 years.
I've thought about killing people with my E-tool before. No lies.
There's a story in World War II in the Chinese India-Burma theater where about 20 Gurkhas got a whole company strength Japanese soldier group without firing a shot.
Jeez, that's impressive.
Oh,
yeah,
so,
they make Alvin York look like strawberry shortcake.
Gabriel Arguello, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, buddy. Are we going to see another zombie type? We have Zulus, Romeos, Foxtrots, and the Zulu animals, but what's next?
I'd roll that back if I could. I think the Zulu animals were a misstep. The phrase "jump the shark" was used 1 or 2 times, and it's tough. It's a tension because you want to keep ramping things up and exceeding what came before and keep it exciting, but at the same time you have to stay true to the DNA of the series, the thing that people liked in the first place. And I think the zombie animals were an innovation too far, so I've sort of pretended that never happened, if I'm honest.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's just
No, I was gonna say-
honey badgers.
Oh, we got onto the subject of zombie sharks. That is actually terrifying.
Oh, and it's something that actually, I mean, not to give away, but it's something that plays out eventually.
Sounds like a sci-fi movie.
I know.
It's only terrifying to seals.
Sharknado H, zombie sharks.
Right?
Another
It was on
question.
during Shark Week. Oh, go ahead, Ethan.
Oh, sorry. One person as a retired Force Recon Marine. Thank you for Gunny Fick. Brings me home. Yes, I do love Fick, by the way. Fucking love that guy.
Fick is awesome.
Fick is awesome.
Yeah, Vic is
Love
badass.
Fick.
Dutch has another question. Dutch is killing it with the questions right now. Like, really good questions, for that matter.
He does have really good, awesome.
Will we see anything more about Homer's family?
Yeah, totally. That's I get this question a lot. It's a total side book. Like, sometimes people write going, "Did I miss something? Like, what the hell happened? That whole chapter just wasn't there." And it's actually going to be an entire side book entitled, and I've been saving this up, Arisen Odyssey, and it'll be about Homer and Sarah's adventure across North America to pick up his kids, and they end up in Dam Neck, where the surviving remnants of Dev Gru are still operating and doing something interesting that I haven't figured out yet. But yeah, definitely.
I was seriously wondering about that.
Yeah, right.
I'm so excited
Yeah,
right now.
you just made me so happy, for sure.
Yeah, me too. Because
Can it be raiding Costco's to get enough hair gel?
Fucking meal.
One of my beta readers was like, "What is it with these? What is it with Navy SEALs in the spotlight?" And I'm like, "Now WARCOM is just out of control and slightly embarrassed for those guys." That's why I personally have a favorite Tier 1 SMU, and it's not SEAL Team 6, but God bless them anyway.
That was one of my favorite jokes in Range 15 was the SEAL joke at the very end. Marcus Luttrell.
Yeah, I work for a large video game developer on the side, and what happened with the Call of Duty series and the Dev Gru guys was really kind of shocking.
Yeah, I don't know how they got involved. And I think Command kind of set the tone a little bit when they commissioned Active Valor and put active duty guys in it, which is a great film, by the way. But
well, that and when they had the Navy SEALs video game, I think that really started to, spitball it, and they opened up training more for TV.
I mean, as far as the recruiting tools, that's great because we need to get, funnel top young people into these programs. But yeah, only sort of Delta, the quiet professionals that all of them are supposed to be anymore. You never hear anything about those guys in the news, which is great.
Dutch had another question. It was a while ago, and I just came across it. And he asked if we will see the D-Boys universe and Arisen universes ever cross.
Excellent question. There is a touch point, which I think people have read. Both series recognize what it is. Basically, the third D-Boys book is intended to be Allie's last mission with the unit, where she goes to Somalia to try to destroy the stockpiles of the weaponized virus that becomes the zombie virus. And she thinks she does it, and in the end, she hadn't, and so the world falls. And that's kind of where the two series are meant to meet. And I hope to get
Now
to
I
that
have
one
to
day.
read D-Boys.
Thanks. I am proud of that series. It's the second one in particular. The first one had this sort of like video game warfare conceit that some people liked and some people didn't. And then the second one was just more a straight, mixed special operations units, action adventure, political thriller that I'm still really kind of proud of. We recently did the audiobook version of that, and it came out really well.
Ooh, okay. Two things. One, Dutch, thank you for this because it hits my heart very closely. But Gabriel asked, I know this is a question, is not about the first book, but I got to know, is Wesley ever going to meet his daughter? Follow to that, I just finished book 3 about a week or two ago, and when I got hit with, oh my God, that's awesome. Need more books now. And then Dutch asked, are they going to ever find an empty hangar with 160th aircraft? And you know me as a Black Hawk guy. Yes, I need some 160th up in these books.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. That was probably another lapse on my part. I should have included those guys. I've read all their memoirs too. Michael Durant's book, both of Michael Durant's books. That's amazing stuff. Amazing unit with an incredible history. And I think I made like an oblique reference to 160th sword pilots being involved, but That'd be a great side project as well. What was the first question?
Will Wesley ever get to see his daughter?
All right. Says he has a daughter. That hasn't been revealed yet. Yeah, that's cool. Glenn set that up very masterfully, and it will be great fun to resolve it. But there was, I asked one of my best friends who knows more about storytelling than the next 100 people I know about endings one time. He says, well, you want to give the reader what you promised him without giving him a wedding. But at the same time, there are going to be a lot of reunions at the end, and Leslie and Emery hooking up is what I'm looking forward to. You have no idea how many hoops had to jump through to get him into that. Well, sorry if I'm ruining it for you if you haven't read book 11 yet, but to get him in a position to go back to Britain to have that reunion. But yeah, he will, of course.
All right, guys,
Awesome.
I'm
very
walking back
excited.
to my crowded barracks room. So I will see y'all later.
Bye, Junior.
Bye, Junior. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Junior.
Junior.
See you at Dragon Con.
It was a pleasure. I wish I could stay longer, but that bay is crowded as hell. I get back Sunday, though, so everything should be normal again.
When you come down to Dragon Con, just head south to the Binning School for Wayward Boys and get a new MOS.
I am much too old to be in 11 Bravo, Neil. I ate guys like you for breakfast when I was in.
Yeah, but you're dumb enough to be one of us, so it'll be all good.
Yeah, just grow a beard for Dragon Con. It'll all be forgiven.
No, I'm too. I'm gonna grow a beard for you, Tommy. It may not be that impressive because I only get out 4 days before.
Anyway, why walk when you can ride?
Right?
Well, that's why I became a tanker.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, hey, you want to be a Calf Scout? I was like, no, thanks. I don't like dudes. They're like, you want to be infantry? They're like, you want to be infantry? I was like, nah, I don't like walking really. They're like, oh, okay, so tanker.
So, hi, can everybody hear me? Anybody? Testing, testing, one.
Yes.
Roger that.
Jesus Christ, David Book.
Starscream.
So, Michael, I just have to say, I'm only about 75% through the first book. I was trying to read it as quickly as I could. I was so happy when Handon took off a zombie's head with a wakizashi. And I was even more happy that you knew it was a wakizashi and just didn't call it a samurai sword.
Yeah, well, that's why I get paid the big bucks to get the details right.
I was glad it's just pronounced right.
But thank you very much. Yeah, Simone pointed out it was like, where the hell have the swords gone? Because they just sort of disappeared. And I was like, that's a good point. It's just hard to keep everything in mind, but the swords will definitely make a comeback for that final battle.
Sweet.
Like, I truly love the fact that you brought the cricket back the cricket bat in the first book. It definitely entertained me.
That's cool. That's a wonderful thing about a zombie apocalypse. Everything becomes a weapon.
Was that an influence from Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah, possibly.
Gabriel wanted to ask, are we ever going to get more on the SAS group that Ansley and Hino were a part of before joining Alpha?
Huh. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. It's definitely a possibility. Yeah, there's almost a little bit of an American versus Brit tension there with all the American operators coming in and sort of taking over at Hereford. And then I think allusion is made to the fact that, America was late into World War II and where the hell were you guys? And now you're saving the day. But I'm kind of a whore for drama. Anything I can do to increase dramatic tension and put people at odds with each other, I tend to grasp at.
Well, I have to say you're responsible for a lot of driveway time for me. I was late coming into work because I was listening to it on audiobooks. And my boss was like, how come you're late? And I'm like, zombies.
Always a reasonable answer.
Right?
Well,
I'm sure we can get Michael to sign you a doctor's note.
That would be awesome.
What's up?
Dr. Deadpool says that you had to stay away for zombies.
Must carry a 45 on your hip at all times, just in case.
Who doesn't?
I carry a 40.
9mm is the shit now.
Actually, It's a 380 now that I bought that little Bel Air.
Hang on, who said they carry a 40?
I carry a 40.
Have you told your parents you're gay yet?
My wife's sitting right next to me, so.
Good cover.
You've actually reminded me of a joke that I failed to include in books 11 or 12 that I meant to, something about never rely on any firearm in a caliber that doesn't start with 4. And then Misha was going to disagree with that because he carries a 50 Desert Eagle. Missed a trick.
So, in the beginning of the book, you, when you were kind of writing like an intro, you said you were quoted saying, "I could probably rely on a bit more suspension of disbelief as well as push things further." Were you wanting to take a step towards fictional, more of a science fictional genre after writing the D-Boys?
Yeah, I think that was just like a caveat I put out there to sort of myself because it was new territory for me. Like I said, Glenn came up with this whole crazy idea. He wrote me at one point. It's kind of a funny backstory, actually. Glenn started out as like a reader of my books, my traditionally published books, and he just sent me some mail, and we corresponded as one does. And then it turned out he wrote, and then he was publishing on Amazon when it turned out you could do that. And then very quickly he was selling more books than I was, which I thought was great. I thought it was very cool. And anyway, he wrote me one day and said, "I've got this kind of crazy idea for a series that involve, like my quiet, creepy moments and your high adrenaline action moments. If you want to sort of collaborate." And so I said, "No, thanks." And then I thought about it for about 5 seconds, and I changed my mind. I said, "Yeah, that sounds great, actually." But as I say, it was venturing into sort of fantasy territory was new ground for me. So I think that note at the front of book 1 was me just sort of issuing a caveat to sort of cover myself as I went into this new ground. And I think in the end I did stick to the military stuff as much as I did in any other books.
It very much is so. It's just zombies.
Yeah, all right. Well, it's funny because Homer says this actually in book 2 that the least interesting thing in a zombie apocalypse is the zombies. They're sort of like the weather, they're the background, they're the adversity. And it's axiomatic that all drama is human drama. Stories are about people with problems, and those problems might be killer asteroids, there might be dragons, there might be other guys with guns, but ultimately what's interesting is the people that are in these situations, how they react to them. And I think the interesting thing about a zombie apocalypse is when society breaks down, where do your loyalties lie? Who do you trust? What do you believe in? What principles are you willing to, devastate? Which ones do you cleave to? It's all about, again, human drama. So, zombies are pretty extreme, but and in fact, they sort of literalize. I'll say one last thing about this, and then I'll wind down. I think it's a really good sandbox for the exploration of existential themes because death is literally chasing you, whereas if you read Sartre or Camus, it's sort of figuratively chasing you. But I swear up and down that if Graham Greene were alive today, he'd be writing zombie apocalypse novels.
I bet that's true.
Not that anyone cares, except for me.
No, I actually thought it was really interesting that, there are a couple of throwaway lines, like the thing that actually kills the people inside the installations is not the zombies that get in, but the people inside that sort of eat themselves alive.
Well, that's, as I think we all know, the title of The Walking Dead isn't about the zombies, it's about the survivors.
Exactly.
Mind blown.
It's how people survive. Well, and that was actually going to be one of my next questions. I was going to say, it seems like a real common theme is like hope in your books. Like when things seem really dire and everything's like falling apart, they still kind of pull through. Is there any reason to that?
Yeah, totally. I'm really glad you brought that up, specifically theme. The farther I go on in the storytelling business, the more I try to stay thematically on theme. And that's why books 11 and 12 have been really fun for me because I was able to design these scenarios that basically end up being life or death combat between my idea and my counter idea. So you've got, the heroic Western operators for whom brotherhood and humanity and love are everything. And then you've got the evil anti-operators who say that humanity must be destroyed and crushed and compassion cannot be permitted. There's no room for it. You won't survive. And so you put them in the arena and you let them fight it out, and the winner, carries the banner for your theme, for your idea. And I never quite wanted to make this literal, except for here right now in the second. But the idea is that love is more powerful than death. That, to me, is an interesting theme.
Well, I think it really plays out. No, go ahead.
I'll say Dutch brought up a great point because it kind of falls in what you were just saying. The zombie in Hereford that always stood on the edge of land, watching helos come in with such a cool zombie humanizing touch, which I thought was cool as hell too. In the very first book, that gets brought up, I think, twice.
I was actually hoping that would get explained in the first book, but now I have to read all the rest of them to figure it out.
Agreed.
I may have outclevered myself there because it really was just a throwaway. And I had someone write me the other day with two questions like, will we find out about Homer and Sarah and finding his kids? And will we find out about that zombie on the cliffs? And the answer was yes and no. The other thing was just, I don't know, it seemed, evocative.
So it was just a thing.
Sorry. Yeah, just a thing, basically.
But I really like the zombie on the cliff because it could be anybody, right? It could be anybody's angst.
And it was cool, too, that it made him question later in life, are these people, there's something left of humanity in the zombies, which I've seen as a theme in a lot of zombie fiction, which is cool. And I like it. It's a good theme brought up.
That's interesting. One or two times I've had the great good fortune to have readers contact me and tell me something about my books that I did not know. And when I think about it for 5 seconds, I'm like, yeah, that really does make sense. I never thought about it. Which is why it's cool to, A, get to write these things, and B, have people actually read them. Very, like clever, insightful people. It's the real thing.
Well, they're really fun to read.
Doc, did you hear that? He called us clever and insightful.
But he hasn't known us that long, right?
Yeah, he doesn't know us that well.
Right?
I'm only clever when I put on a Deadpool mask.
And you sound
That's
like
just
Ryan
because
Reynolds.
it makes it harder for you to lick a window.
And when you're saving the lives of
like
wounded
snot.
warriors in combat zones, presumably.
Yes, exactly. Gabriel asked, who from the Walking Dead series do you think would survive the longest in Arisen?
I'm going to go back to Shane, if I'm honest.
Oh.
I don't know, I have a very love-hate relationship with The Walking Dead, which I probably shouldn't belabor because, all credit to those guys. But I thought, like in season 2, it was positively Shakespearean when Rick and Shane confronted each other out in that field. I thought that was just the peak of human drama. And then I feel like after that, it became a long, long series of seeing how many zombies we could stab in the head in a row. And I found, 1,000 zombies stabbed in the head to be quite like 10. It just didn't interest me that much here.
That was my favorite episode of the series.
You heard
Yeah,
it here.
right?
You heard it here first, folks. Michael supports Blue Falcons.
Yay! Too bad Joe's not on. He would call me out.
Well, here's something you may not have picked up on, but if you read book 11, when Handon and Henno have their confrontation, their big showdown, does anybody remember their two first names? Each of them?
No, I suck.
I'm not that far in.
Nope.
Handon's first name is Shane.
No shit.
Yeah. And Richie.
Dun, dun, dun.
Richie for Henno.
Got a Walking Dead segue for you.
All these little Easter eggs, I guess. What it is me ripping other things off shamelessly, which I do all the time.
It's inspiration, it's not ripping off.
It's a tribute.
I sort of... There's a fine line between homage and plagiarism.
Right.
My Get Out free card is I try very hard to acknowledge these things in the thanks and acknowledgement section at the end of each book. Like, I completely stole this from this writer in this program.
Hey, are you going to accuse George Lucas of ripping off Ashira Kurosawa, or however you say his name? No, so...
Yeah, fair point. Or Tarantino with Reservoir Dogs ripping off that Hong Kong director.
Not much of it.
Yeah, we kind of all do it. Everything's derivative.
Yeah, everything is kind of just like the Seven Samurai.
Just, if you could, don't go full Lucas and absolutely remake your work.
You know,
in the worst possible way.
There are all these cautionary tales. You know, if you give a guy enough money and control and power, you know, and no one's willing to tell him that his ideas are ridiculous. I think about this stuff all the time. It's screwing up. I've been lucky enough to, you know, have this series that people like. How do I, you know, dodge these pitfalls? And you see, you know, much better artists than me fall into it left and right. It's tough.
Did somebody have a Walking Dead question?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I was hoping you were gonna say Daryl, but
Who doesn't even exist in the books, right?
hell if I know, never read them.
Correct. It does not exist in the books at all.
Books are way better, and Daryl is non-existent in the books.
Yeah, but if you're casting a TV show and you can get one of the Boondock Saints, you hire one of the Boondock Saints.
Right?
And for zombie apocalypse, everybody hates the redneck till the zombie apocalypse happens. Everybody wants a redneck on their team. Just throwing that out there.
Men.
I was hanging out with my best friend. We were shooting his Benelli Tactical and his AR variants and his Beretta CX4 Storm. And he just keeps buying guns. And I said to him, you know, if you're really worried about a disruption of civil society, you know, want to be a little bit smarter to lay in some food, some antibiotics, you know, some clean water supplies. And he said, well, let me tell you what my other gun nut friend told me about that. He said, if you've got food and water and I've got guns and ammunition, I've got guns and ammunition and food and water.
Exactly.
To which I said, do you really want to be one of the mutants of the zombie apocalypse, though, going around raiding all the good people? And he didn't seem to have a problem with that.
Well, I think I've got my zombie apocalypse team down, right? Neil's the one who's going to help me break into places and get food. Like those big containers in the tunnel.
Yes, right? Shipping containers?
Yep.
Sorry if I'm distracted. A yellow jacket has flown into my space here, and now I'm worried about being stung, which is how tough I am.
Dutch has another good question in the live feed there, Julia.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he says, what about Pred and the fact that he battles with death and his feelings that he can't be killed and how to get through it?
Yeah, I don't know, to me that's more interesting what's going on with him emotionally. And contrast is always interesting. Like you've got this huge, gigantic, badass, unkillable dude who has all these doubts and fears and regrets and sadness. And to me, that's interesting. When the outer image contrasts with what's inside. He's a character who's kind of come to life.
He's personally one of my favorite. I love Predator. On the ship scene, it totally freaked me out, and I screamed. I was like, I literally gasped.
Sorry, what scene?
On the ship, like the battle on the. I'm not trying to give too much away, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally. I toyed with the idea of having him die there just incidentally, and I think it was a non-starter. I'd fear for my personal safety if I killed that guy.
You should.
There are a few characters that basically have contractual immortality now, and they've made it this far, and they can't die now.
Dutch actually asked another question about the battleship scene. He said, what inspired that? Or, you know, like really what came to be in wanting to write that scene specifically?
The flight deck battle?
Yes.
God, I don't know. I guess I have a minor fixation on nuclear supercarriers. With like 1 billion individual parts, it's the most complex machine ever made by man. And just the sheer grandeur and power of them. It's said truly that any one of our living carrier strike groups could single-handedly win a war against virtually any country on Earth other than the U.S. And I think that's an amazing statistic. And again, just trying to ramp it up, you know, what could be more over the top than what we did last time, you know, a storm of 10 million dead washing over the hull of the... And then I guess maybe the just the flatness of the flight deck lends itself to sort of a set-piece battle. I don't know where I got that, if I'm honest. I don't know where I get any of this. You know?
Anybody see that meme of the American carrier and the British carrier side by side before?
No.
Oh, you mean the aircraft carrier and the tugboat?
No, it was well, more or less. It was a Nimitz class carrier and a British carrier side by side. Obviously, the Nimitz dwarfing it, and some dude is like commenting, and it says compensating for something America, and the reply was, "Yeah, weak allies."
Oh, bird.
Yeah, that's
Shots
pretty good.
fired.
On that,
Yeah,
Gabriel
check.
has an awesome question. So we know Pred and Juice have the best bromance ever. Are we gonna get more on how it started?
Oh wow. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. Why not? As I was quipping earlier, I just sort of think of them as an old married couple at this point. Maybe. And then I do take this stuff on board. I definitely love, the readers typically clue me into what I should, be useful focusing on, and that's a good one.
Susan, it's not really a question, but I'm just going to read to you what she said. She says, one of the things I've enjoyed so much in this series is the unusual places and situations in which the heroes face the zombies. My favorite was the zombie in a life jacket that Allie met, the zombie whale shark and Hyrax. I look forward to stumbling across these surprises in the upcoming books.
Well, I better make sure to have some surprises next.
Yes, because whale sharks are fine with zombies.
I'm just telling you, zombie sharks are terrifying. I don't know why they're more scary than regular zombies. They're just so brutal.
Better or worse than Sharknado?
They can totally be why every SEAL team except DevGru doesn't exist anymore.
They all get eaten by whale sharks.
Michael, I have one of those long-time zombie horror philosophical questions for you.
Please.
So if a zombie bites a vampire, what happens?
Oh God, yeah, you don't want to mix your genres. That's like bad juju.
That's like werewolves and vampires in the same movie. God.
Fucking Underworld.
I was gonna say Underworld. Well, see, I brought this up and I said that I don't think a zombie would want to bite a vampire because they're not really like living. So I don't think a vampire, like a zombie, would have the desire to want to bite said vampire.
I don't think zombies think that much.
But they would like want to be attracted to like living tissue and blood and shit, and vampires don't really have that, do they?
They have blood.
But it's not like circulating.
Like a mosquito.
I don't know. I guess, does a mosquito bite a vampire?
I don't know. That's a good question. Just as long as the zombies don't sparkle, I'm good.
That's what happened. So,
like I said,
Duncan
there are a lot of
Williams says,
pitfalls.
Emo City, never forget.
Sorry?
Oh, Dutch brought up a good point. Zombies don't bite each other.
No, they don't.
True.
Duncan Williams said Ammo City, never forget.
Yeah, that's kind of a thematic thing too. The fact that zombies don't have brothers; they don't even see each other, and that's maybe the point of contrast. Is and it's our relation to one another that makes us human.
That was a good part of it.
That was really deep.
So it's funny. I was talking to my dad. He's also an author, and he asked me what the fascination with zombies is. Like, what's the metaphor for a zombie?
Yeah, it's a great question. What's your answer? What did you tell him?
I said I said the current fascination with zombies is sort of like the dehumanization of the other. And I know this is going way deep, but it's the thing that you can't control.
Yeah,
I think it's more a fascination with the apocalypse and human survival. I don't think it's about the zombies at all.
But what makes the zombies? But what makes the zombies so horrible and terrifying as opposed to aliens in the 50s?
Here's how I kind of philosophized it. Michael's getting another drink.
Did you just make up a word, Doc? Philosophized?
I did. Philosophized. What do some people fear more than death? It's of their humanity or losing of their free will. A zombie is interesting in the fact that it's animated, but it's alive, functioning purely on brainstem and frontal lobe. There's no cortex. There's no personality to the two action.
Yeah, but then that brings up the question: how much of you is left in a zombie? Is it just the shell? Are you still cognizant in some way?
And I think that taps into the fear that some people.
Or I think it gets even deeper than that, because the worst part of what everyone hates is you always most people have that continued will to survive, but society has devolved, and I think that's the biggest fear is everything you've come to know and be comfortable with no longer exists, and then even when it ends, it doesn't end because the physical visage of you is still shambling around. So it almost seems like you don't even get to escape it.
It'd be scary if you were actually in the body and doing it.
I'd be more scared if one of my exes turned into a zombie. Then I'd never be rid of him.
But then you could legally bash his head in.
Oh, good point.
This isn't me. I just read this, but I read it was two things. One, the fact that a zombie is a human stripped of all recognizable humanity. You're basically boiled down to just raw animalistic impulses. So that's one thing that makes it scary. And the second is it's your own loved ones, your own family and friends who are coming for you. And that's super creepy. And someone, I wish I could remember who it was, alluded to the idea that our evolution made me think of the fact, we're not evolutionarily hardwired for living in huge societies with anonymous crowds, and faceless people surrounding you all the time. And maybe the zombie story is a reaction to that.
Well, I like that. That's really interesting.
I like that, and I also like the idea that it's that you lose control, like your humanity is ripped away from you. Although there's no humanity in a zombie shark, and I'm telling you that this keeps me up at night. Zombie sharks.
I think one of the most scary things
Could be the next
is
Jaws sequel.
the society. Like the fact that society falls, and like the more you have to worry more about people than the monsters, because the monsters are predictable. They're going to come kill you. It's the people, that are trying to survive that makes it dangerous.
I think it's that the people become the monsters.
Unless
Exactly.
they're foxtrot Novembers, those guys are horrible. They're terrifying too.
Yeah, they don't even eat you. They just scratch you and move on.
Run away.
Well, you also don't have to feel guilty about killing the monster.
That is true.
Well, that goes back to the dehumanization. That goes back to the dehumanization of the other.
That sounds like literary theory.
I know, it's just mumbo jumbo I made up.
No, it's good. I like literary theory.
I put a lot of words together in a sentence and try to sound smart.
There was a thing that Herschel said in The Walking Dead that I think applies to there. He said that these beings may still have a soul. So can you truly dehumanize something if it still has a soul?
There was kind of a dead end.
I think that's where Homer comes in.
Yeah, and that's why I like that character. Kind of the Herschel for the book, I think.
It is funny because I'm a raving atheist, but it's really fun to write like a devout Christian character. I don't know why. He adds something.
Is that where some of the Zealots storyline came through on the second part?
I caught some flack for that, actually, like making the Christians out to be the bad guys. Also in Arisen Nemesis, I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't read it, but suffice it to say that there's a certain confluence of Christianity and being a traitor, which I didn't really intend, but it came across.
That's interesting. I can't wait to get to that. That's a really interesting theme. Like, who do you serve? Do you serve your
I've only
company?
been to the first book, but the time... Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, who do you serve? Do you serve your country, or do you serve your humanity, or do you serve your God?
Well, I got to choose. My favorite fiction writer of all time was David Foster Wallace. He said the human desire to give yourself away to something completely, to be subsumed in something greater than yourself, is almost infinite. I think that's an interesting observation.
Oh, Gabriel made a great point. Gabriel Arguello? So sorry. He says, but who is the monster? The zombie who is wanting to eat, or the man who is willing to sacrifice everyone and everything, including their own humanity, to get the mission completed?
Yeah, that's core thematic stuff. I think that the absolutely fascinating thing about being human is that the heights to which you can rise and the depths to which you can fall are almost unlimited. Ethically, you could be a Hitler or a Martin Luther King Jr. In terms of success, you could be a Bill Gates, you could be face down in Skid Row, penniless. If you're an antelope, you're kind of just an antelope. But if you're a human, like the range is just dizzying, and that's one of the weird and daunting things about being human, and which is fun to write about. Human, and I touched on this earlier. Human potential, like the special operators are guys who just committed themselves to becoming these vessels of perfection, and that is really inspiring stuff.
But they also know their role, right? They know what they're born to do in some way. They don't have to figure it out.
I know they've chosen to give themselves over to something in particular. I think you're right that once they made that choice, then they do have a path that is clear. And I envy
Hey, Jenna. Jenna, your microphone's coming. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
We've been hot mic'd. Curses.
The character Henno, is he by any chance from that English TV show?
Which one?
Hang on, I'm looking it up now.
Ultimate Force?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, totally. This came up on Facebook today. It's I totally stole the character name. If you haven't seen Ultimate Force, by the way, it's really a good watch. It's basically the SAS version of the unit, which if you haven't seen that, you should hang up on me right now and go watch the unit. Someone was asking, someone was mentioning Jason Statham as a potential actor. Did you have him in mind?
Yes.
I said I'm thinking more of Sean Bean, hair and a little meaner,
but he has to die then,
right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. Sean Bean, brother.
Actually, you could do Sean Bean and have him play Carl in a crossover from Walking Dead. Then everybody would be happy when he got gunned down.
Carl. Watch Carl.
Carl.
Carl's actually quite the badass in the books. It's a shame what they do to him in the TV show.
He gets people killed on TV.
All right, all. I have to go. It is late for me. I gotta get up and work. You'll work on those jet engines that somehow fell in a book further on in the series that Michael told me.
I think they were in trouble if the Blackhawks don't fly.
Look, I don't work on Blackhawks anymore. I work on Pratt & Whitney engines.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, you did mention the Pratt & Whitney thing. Unfortunately, I've got a bum one in book 12, which I apologize for in advance.
I'm excited when I get to the book to figure out which engine it is so I can poke fun of people on which module they're working on and say, hey, this is your fault.
I know we'd all appreciate it if you just put a slight nod to Ethan in that when the engine fails.
Yeah.
No, okay. Nod to me.
That would be awesome. You know what? Have the engine fail by sucking Ethan into it.
Or just have the pilot, while he's crashing, go, damn it, Ethan!
Hashtag blame Ethan!
I can deal with that. I can deal with that.
Hashtag never again.
But I'll see you later. Mike, thank you for coming in and really appreciate it.
Good night, Ethan.
Hey, Ethan. Thanks very much. And thanks for the review that you did, which was great. Take care.
I couldn't do any more justice. I tried my best. I'm crap with words.
No, you're great. I was honored. It was really flattering.
Well, thank you. You guys have a great night.
Night.
Good night.
Stay safe.
No, I'm serious. You're going to be responsible for me losing my job because I just keep sitting in the parking lot listening to it because I can't. It's like the book. You can't put it down. I have to listen to the next chapter.
You're like, damn it, traffic.
Tommy, if you lose your job, you can't get more guns. Just remember that.
It's very carefully crafted to make you lose your job. I do 2,000-word chapters, which are like popcorn size. You get to the end, you think, just one more, just one more.
Just one more, just one more.
So have you considered changing the name of the series to Heroin?
Or crack, or meth.
Tommy, listen to it in the gym.
Yes, I should listen to it in the gym, except I'm teaching, so I'd have to, teach and
So-
listen to it at the same time. I don't know I
Your
could do
students
that.
would appreciate it.
Oh, I could totally do like a zombie class. You know how I did
Sweating
the
the
Harlequin?
zombies.
Yes, I could have everybody dressed up like zombies.
That would be really cool, actually.
I'd be
yeah.
willing to get friends to come into that class and shoot every last one of you with airsoft guns. Or sim rounds if y'all are willing for it.
I'm not. I've seen what sim rounds do to people.
They fucking hurt.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
That's how the teaching gets absorbed.
I love you, Neil.
Teaching gets absorbed at 800 feet per second.
What was
Ed
the round? No,
Brown
there
lost
was a
in
round that you had a round that went 200 feet per second. Which one was that? Or sorry, 2,000 feet per second.
The 338 Lapua?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's Lapua mag all day long.
No, it was when the dude shot himself in the head in the white truck.
In the beginning?
Yeah.
When the foxtrot just sliced him and then moved on?
Oh, wasn't that a SIG?
Yeah, I think it was a SIG.
Even I don't remember what you were talking about.
It's when Wesley is leaving the station to go warn everybody about the horde that's coming, and the car slams into him.
Oh yeah, that was kind of a funny one. Actually, I got a good little backstory for that. Glenn wrote that, and then he had basically the muzzle velocity of the 9mm completely in the wrong ballpark. And so I wrote him like this 2-paragraph message explaining, how hot those rounds actually fire and, the velocity they're going at when they leave the muzzle. And he said, "Oh, I just completely made that up because I knew you'd fix it." He knew how obsessive I was about it.
He's like, I was just filling in fillers so I could just have you edit it later.
Yeah, it was basically a holding thing.
That's kind of how.
You got to do work sometimes.
That's how Neil admins. He just kind of throws it out there, and he's like, you guys will fix it.
Gotta let everybody do his job. He's good at, and I'm good at shit like muzzle velocity.
What Neil is trying to do is delegate.
Nah, it's more a philosophy of fuck it, let's do it live.
So, will we ever have anybody wearing kilts in the zombie apocalypse?
Let me think. No, the answer is no.
Okay.
What
if
they hit
combat attire?
I mean, you had Predator absolutely naked. I just thought it would be kind of fun if somebody was wearing a kilt.
I was doing a walk in the Scottish Highlands one time, and we were in this pub that was supposed to be the oldest pub in the British Isles from like 1600 something. And I went into the men's lavatory, and there was a dude in a kilt next to me. And I looked down and I saw the knife pommel in his sock. And being drunk and stupid, I said, you're not allowed to carry knives in London, and so I heard people have been carrying just like fake knife pommels in their socks. Is that what you've got? And he looked over and gave me this look, and he said, "Now what feckin' use would that be?" I shut the hell up pretty quickly.
That warms my little Scottish heart.
Yeah, well, those guys are take being Scottish very seriously.
It's not a joke, and now we've got kilts that have pockets, so they're infinitely better.
511 makes a kilt. A tactic.
Is that right?
Oh, Yogi wears those. You'll see
I'm
pictures
not
of him
kidding.
at Dragon Con wearing those.
Man, I got a 511 messenger bag, and it's just about the best piece of kit I've ever bought in my life.
I've got the Rush 12 as my.
Hazard 4 makes them incredible.
I've got two
Just
pairs
saying.
of their pants, and I actually wear them on the sidelines on game days because that's a lot of stuff that I can keep in the pocket, not to carry around a huge freaking medicine bag.
I totally want to abandon the author interview and start quizzing you about your background. Like, what is your rank actually? Do you do surgery? Can you put me in the picture?
Talking to me?
Yeah, totally.
I'm a captain currently.
Boo!
Captain Rhodes.
Captain Deadpool.
Captain Deadpool.
Nah, just Deadpool.
Just Deadpool.
It's a great rank. It's like one of my all-time heroes, Captain Sir Richard Francis Burton, the great Victorian explorer. Get to be called captain all your life.
I actually don't even know if I want to get promoted because once I'm Captain just sounds so cool. Plus,
Mhm.
one of my favorite characters is in America, and once I'm outrank him, what else is there left?
Well, once you become Major Rhodes, you've got to be like the ruck marching officer.
I'm already that guy. Like, I'm the crazy fucking. Nobody thinks that I'm an officer until they see my rank. For one, I look like a fucking baby with a shaved face. Like, I look like a 19-year-old. And so everybody's like, oh, that guy's a specialist or something. It's like, oh shit, he's a captain. Oh, I gotta fucking salute that guy. And and I also do just crazy ass shit. Like all these high speed people are around. It's like, hey, we're gonna go do this crazy ass fitness thing. It's like, oh, I want to do this crazy ass fitness thing. It's like, Doc, why do you want to do that crazy ass fitness thing? It's like, it sounds fun. It's like, no, it doesn't. It sounds awful.
Yeah, like those damn pull-ups that you make me do every night.
Oh shit! And on when I was at JRTC in July, I was doing pull-ups off of a motherfucking tree branch in the middle of a Peace-on Ridge, and I had a whole platoon just staring at me, going, "What the fuck is he doing?" But I like pull-ups, okay?
Where are you located?
Right now, I'm in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Right.
The other Fayetteville.
Yeah, the fake Fayetteville.
Not brag.
The one that has the Razorbacks, not the one that has the army.
I would say it's the superior Fayetteville.
Bullshit. There's only first best Vietnam.
Second best Fayetteville is in Arkansas.
I'll just say the STDs aren't airborne here.
Oh.
All right, on that note, Gabriel had another good question.
Wow. Yeah, that de-escalated quickly.
I've never been to Fayetteville, North Carolina, full disclosure.
Gabriel says, are we ever going to find out more of the original commander of the carrier strike group?
Oh, the captain? Yeah, probably not, because the captain was Quinn's character, and he did really cool stuff with it, and that was a major, addition to book 5 when he rocked up and saved the day. It was cool. Although I've kind of reprised it because Commander Abrams took over his role, and then he got slightly wounded and was on medical leave, and he comes back in book 12 at the end of book 11. Yes. Yeah, one of the things that Glenn taught me, among many, is that sometimes it's nice to have totally unsolved mysteries. Just this thing, like, what the hell is that? We're just going to have to imagine. And, like, I try to do that with book 2, I guess, when Homer's in Chicago and then here's jazz music playing in this jazz bar. And it's got electricity and it's got the sound system and, like, who the hell left this here? And we're never going to find out. And like, horror is new to me. Like, I had to learn all this stuff from, square zero. And it's kind of cool to just have stuff that never quite makes sense.
Well, he was also wondering if they'll ever get to read about the Royal Marines trek across Europe.
That's Glenn's big idea for a sign book. He really wants to do that, and I really encourage that. I think that'd be great. Because he set that all up, and, the background, and he talked about doing it as a standalone adventure with them trekking, fighting their way back to Britain after the fall, which I think would be great. And I'll, pass that on to him that people are interested.
Cool, and I had a question for you. When Handon and Ainsley are figuring out the insertion plan to recover the jammed-up SEAL team in the tunnel, they talk about use of drone footage. So I was just wondering, because I hear this is kind of going to come up more in the later books, what kind of drones are they utilizing? What kind of drones are the Alpha team utilizing to do these kinds of things?
Good question. I drill down on this a little bit going forward. It tends to be like advanced because this is all happening like a few years from now. So on the carrier, they've got a UCAV-B, which is like the Navy's experimental unmanned fighter aircraft. What else do we have? In fact, I make it a plot point that they fought a Predator, which, like, they're being retired now. There are thousands, hundreds of them, but and they were the initial big armed UAV, and those are being put down. So, like, there are now these, like, ancient artifacts. I think we also have.
My husband was thinking. Yeah, my husband was thinking either Scan Eagles or Pumas, and when I mentioned the Predators, he said, "So what's the runway he's using?" And I told him that JFK was still floating, so he was like, "Okay, maybe."
I think it's got a pretty short takeoff distance. Scan Eagles are cool. hand toss ravens play a role in D-Boys. I'm trying to think if they make it into Arisen at all. It's all very, very cool stuff. It's an amazing age we live in, really.
So since this is Drinking Bros Nerds, what are you drinking?
For me?
Yes.
Oh, right. It's this very nice dry 6% cider from Herefordshire with the home of the SAS. It's funny you mention it because it's actually starting to get with me a little bit. I'm having to focus to, articulate.
What are you drinking, Tommy?
Air. Nothing.
Ow. I had a question for you, Michael. Since you have this, fascination and love affair with with the soft community, to be that one guy, what's your favorite soft community through, all the different soft groups across, national boundaries? What do you like? Because they all tend to have their own character.
Yeah, and it's fascinating stuff. They do have cultures that are particular to them. It's very banal, but I am a total fanboy for the unit Delta K, however we refer to them in the U.S. Surah Maktal in Israel is a pretty amazing group as well. GIGN in France. SAS, of course, in many ways started it all. I got really interested in U.S. Army Special Forces when I wrote Arisen Nemesis, and in many ways, those guys are not superheroes; they're human, but really super high quality humans who the training they undergo and the commitment they take is amazing. And some of the books about some of the things they've done are really amazing reads. What am I missing? It's special to me. Yeah, CAG, Special Forces. Those are probably the big ones, I guess.
Rangers.
Oh yeah, God.
Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really incredibly blessed with some of the people I get to meet through this line of work, and one of my best friends the last couple of years is he was a first sergeant in 2nd Bat in the Ranger Regiment, and he was also in Mogadishu on October 3 through 4, 1991. So yeah, that's a very special unit, and do a lot of respect. He gave me a Ranger Challenge coin. He gave me his first sergeant insignia and his airborne tab on a Ranger skull, which is much, much, much better than I deserve. I have him framed.
Better than anything I got.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel says that Eli needs to join Alpha Team. Eli rocks.
Sorry, who's Eli?
I have no idea.
Oh, in Point Troop, the Royal Marine. I'm suddenly horrified that I misremembered my great friend's battalion as 2nd instead of 3rd. But as I said, I'm a bit squiffy, as they say around here. Yeah, Sergeant Eli is cool. He's another of Glenn's characters, and I kind of ran with him. He has a great moment in Book 12 that I think you'll enjoy. But yeah, joining Alpha Team, why not?
And then Dutch also says, Mike, you need to look into Hornet hand-launched micro UAVs. That's what we are working on.
Oh, really? Who said that?
Dutch DeGay. Sorry, pardon my mispronunciation.
What's his unit? And branch of service? And
I believe he's another former Ranger.
Right.
He said Ranger in the comments.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that one. What's it called again?
It's the Hornet micro UAV. It's another man-pack UAV.
Right.
Is that one of the quad drones, or?
I'd have to look it up because it's definitely outside of my realm of knowledge, but I think it is.
I will look it up. I have juice with an ornithopter in book 7 and 8. It's a little ahead of the current tech. Sometimes what I do is I imagine where it's going and project a little bit out. And I have one of my oldest friends was an Air Force Special Operations Command guy, and he read my D-Boys book. He was a command pilot, Special Operations pilot, and he said he said one of the nicest things that's ever been said to me in any context. He said, okay, you've got this thing in this book. I don't know how you know it, but you're not supposed to. And no, I can't tell you what it is. And all that told me was that I had guessed really, really well about like what was coming down the pike.
Yeah, no, it's not the quad. Dutch says that it's hand launched, and he works on it actually.
Is that right?
Yeah, so
micro UAV. I'm tempted to go look it up right this second.
I posted a link to a YouTube video of it in the TeamSpeak chat.
Ooh, cool. Oh, right, there it is.
yeah, but I think if you wanted to ever, go down the UIV pipeline, Dutch might be your guy.
Okay. Well,
If
no,
you
I mean,
want-
Some people may know some guys.
Yeah, you might have found a great community to pick some brains at.
Did you
I'm
say
really
brains?
hoping-
Yeah, you see what I did there?
I saw what you did there. Very cool.
I'm really
No, that'd
hoping
be an-
Dutch's name is inspired by Predator.
I eat green berets for breakfast.
And I'm very, very hungry.
Gabriel had another question. He said, are there any special forces groups still alive in the universe, i.e. French, German, Australian?
Yeah,
Yes,
the
I
guy
assume
did
they're all alive.
GSG-9, Aussie SAS.
Yeah, I assume they're all out there operating somewhere, so I can write side books about them.
They would make great
those would
side
be the last
books.
guy standing.
Well, because
Basically, it's like,
but the way book 10 finishes, it really lets you kind of know that there's quite some fully functioning operatives, I guess is the word.
yeah, it's kind of like a Heisenbergian possibility space. Like anything that I haven't, decreed on could potentially go one way or the other. But yeah, I got invited to they have this Kindle Worlds thing where you can write in other people's universes, and then a friend of mine invited me to write in his, and I said, I'm sorry, mate, I've got 4 times as much universe of my own as I could fill up if there were 16 of these.
And he also had another question. He said, are we ever going to read about Alpha's first scrubbed mission, the one to North Korea? Which I guess we kind of already talked about, right?
No, that's a really cool idea, which I hadn't thought about. Yeah, I never really said what it is either. They kind of were on the verge of getting the H-bomb. They had plutonium, I think, rather than just highly enriched uranium. That's probably a throwaway, but it's a possibility.
I have a non-story related question, but a writing question.
Oh, God.
As I myself am an aspiring author, what advice would you give me to actually finish a damn book?
First, write me privately, and we can, I'll give you any advice or support I can possibly muster. Secondly, put your ass in the chair. Art is work. Stephen Pressfield, who's the muse in this topic, said the most important thing about art is work. All that matters is showing up and trying every day. You just got to graft it out. There's no easy way around it. People always ask, what's your rule for writing? And for years, my answer was put your ass in the chair every day, because as long as you engage with the material every day, then your hindbrain will be doing the important work of solving story problems and plot problems and character problems when you're showering or going for a run or working out or doing whatever you're doing. But if you don't put your ass in the chair on any given day, then your brain gets interested in other stuff and runs off on its own. So you have to engage with it every day. And then as you get to sort of more of a professional level where you're really committed to producing material, you got to have daily word counts and stuff. But if you've got a day job, which I did for years and years, find an hour every day or even 30 minutes. And people underestimate the power of every day. If you do even, how does this work? If you do even 500 words a day, which is really a pretty modest goal, you'll have a 75,000 word novel every 4.5 months, which is, an outstanding pace of production. So the power of every day, continuity, keep banging it out.
Nice. Sometimes I can manage maybe 250, maybe 300 words a day, depending on how motivated I feel or if a particular scene I'm writing grabs me.
Yeah, that's pretty significant, and that'll add up very quickly. And seriously, write me privately. One of the guys I admire, Jay Conrath, is a real successful book author, and he says, as a writer, you should always have two hands out: one trying to get the next place you're trying to go to, and one reaching back, helping guys get to where you're at. So if there's anything I can do, questions I can answer, I'm definitely at your service.
Cool.
And I'd like to hear about what you're working on as well. I'd be very interested.
I don't get to read for fun anymore. That's why I've turned to audiobooks, which I was really happy that this was an audiobook for this one.
I know you.
So see, you've got two of the dummies that buy your big expensive audiobook.
Actually, I only paid like the $3 on Audible for it. Thank you, Amazon Prime.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
I bought the book and the audiobook because I love to read. I love the feel of a book, like a real book. I can't even do like the Kindle stuff, but I wanted to get through the book, so I got the audiobook too.
But don't get me wrong, I'd much rather read a real book, but when I have time to read now, I have to read journal articles, I have to read like patient reports, I have to read case reports, I have to stay current on my actual profession, which is a fucking nightmare, but it's part of the job.
Oh, the life of a doctor.
Yeah.
More about saving lives.
I'm the same because I have to write reports at work every day. So if you have time, I'm.
I forgot to ask earlier, but
I knew that state was going to catch fuck.
who does your cover art for your books?
The short bad answer is me. I designed them, but they're all built around photography done by much more talented guys than me. Glenn used to do the covers for like 1 through 8. I've done the covers for all the ones with just my name on them, but they're based around. And this came out earlier. Once again, I'm conflating my media. There's a Facebook chat. There's a guy in Germany called Tom. God, I'm blanking on his name. It's millpictures.com. I can send you the link, and he does basically special operations photography and videography. It is just freaking amazing. And so his amazing work joins the covers of books 2, 4, 9, and Nemesis, I think. He does amazing stuff. And then I found this, for book 11, I found this Russian photographer who has access to actual Spetsnaz guys. So the guy on the cover of book 11 is a Spetsnaz Alpha operator, I think. So I won't want his job, but I'm really. Yeah, it is. He looks like a total badass because he is a total badass. I wouldn't want this guy's job, but I'm glad he does it. And so I start with, and then even when Glenn did him, I sort of art designed him because I have like strong opinions on this stuff. And Glenn's a very talented graphic artist as well. So the covers have all turned out great. But in no case have I sort of like paid a graphic designer. It was either Glenn or me, and based on photography by super talented guys who do this stuff really professionally. Tom Weber at millpictures.com.
It is really nice cover art.
Thanks.
It all goes well together.
Yeah, Julie and Ethan wanted. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Julie and Ethan kindly asked for signed paperbacks, and they let me sort of which ones to send them. So I ordered copies of book 9, which I think is a nicely representative cover. I'm looking at them now; they just came in.
And you want to keep them and not give them back, not send them back?
Yes, but I owe you guys a lot, so I'll have to get and bear it.
Wait, we can get signed paperbacks?
No, not
yes.
you. Not you.
Yeah, sure.
I'm down for.
Who was that?
Joseph Jackson.
I'll have to put in another order, but yeah, I'm happy to do it.
I'll make sure to message him and get all the information and send it to you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks. That'd be great. So
Yes.
can do it.
Speaking of the, I'm gonna butcher it, the Spetsnaz? Is that how you say it?
Spetsnaz.
Pretty close.
Spetsnaz.
What motivated you to bring them into the fold later? Spoiler alert.
I think I didn't at the time know why it was important to bring them in. I maybe sensed it, but now I think I understand it, which is that they are the dark shadow cast by the operators from the U.S. and Britain. I mentioned that everything needs to be thematic for me, and you're having an argument, like when you tell a story, the guys I read say, you're basically saying this is what life is like, or this is how to live successfully and happily in the world. The idea is that stories teach us how to be properly human. I know that's very grandiose stuff for shoot 'em up zombie stories, but it's all in there. I hope it is. So the Spetsnaz guys allowed me to have this argument, this thematic contest. They basically, the whole thing about them is that they have destroyed every trace of compassion, humanity, brotherhood, weakness in themselves, and that by that means they achieve victory, they never fail, they're stronger than death, they can beat the Zulu Alpha. And then, our heroes take it from a completely different direction, which is that they're all about love for one another, love for the man beside them, love for what's behind them that they're protecting and fighting for. So by throwing Spetsnaz into the mix, we can put these two counter arguments or counter ideas into literal combat. And then when we see who wins, we know which idea is more powerful. And it's also axiomatic that your heroes will only be as great as the forces of opposition that oppose them. So you have to ramp up those forces of opposition as much as you can. So heroes of Spetsnaz are the equal of our heroes in skill and resolve and ferocity and viciousness, but they don't have their values. And how will that play out? And so, like I said, when I brought them in, I maybe had a vague sense of that. Now I have a clearer sense of it, but I'm really happy with that arena that I set up. I hope it's fun to read, too.
Again, I've not gotten that far in the books, but did you put the Spetsnaz super awesome combat roles in the book?
Sorry? Not following.
There's a Spetsnaz technique that gets a little overlauded, and I think it's pretty funny. They actually have combat roles, like in movies, where they roll from firing position to firing position.
Oh, really? No, I haven't seen that.
So I'm guessing that's not in the book then.
Not yet. Might be now. I read a couple of really interesting books on these guys, and they are fascinating. But
I think you've summed them up and put them in your universe pretty well.
Thanks.
I gotta read this
but
part
as usual, it's robbery, and I think books like 7 and 8 they spent some ink describing what their mindset was like, and I pulled that all out of 2 books that I can't quite remember the names of, but they're in the thanks and acknowledgments of books 7 and 8.
Dutch has another on-point question. Is there a character or type of character you want to create that you haven't?
I can't imagine, because like I said, there are 1,000 people in these books. Just keeping track of them. If there's any, human aspect that has not been represented in some way, I'd be really surprised.
Without spoiling anything, is there a backwoods survivalist nut job who pops up in any of the books?
Yeah, Handon falls in love with her.
Fuck yeah.
And there's also one of the prequels.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Sometimes
the crazy dude who held down the camp in the Horn of Africa.
Oh yeah, of course, CSM Zorn. Yeah, he was a guitar player.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be sort of the conventional forces counterpoint to the Spec Ops guys. Very big green army and very regimented, and didn't have a lot of time for their secret squirrel bullshit. That was fun. My ops are blacker than your ops, kind of thing.
Gabriel thinks you have very witty chapter titles, and he wants to know, of all the witty chapters you've named, which would be your favorite if you could choose one?
Thanks, that's nice praise. Yeah, getting to name the chapter, not everyone names chapter titles, and we just started doing it and stuck with it, and it's a lot of the fun, just like a fun, creative, throwaway thing. And then the other best part of it is now that there are these audiobook editions, R.C. Bray, who's this sonorous stentorian audiobook performer of the gods has to read the chapter title at the beginning. And now I can't come up with one without hearing it in his voice first, which is always hilarious. And I'll tell you what I'm really looking forward to, actually, is in book 12. I shouldn't curse, but in book 12, there's a chapter. I'll tell you the three-word chapter title in 10 seconds, but imagining Gray reciting it is just like genius. It's going to be great. The chapter's called Holy Fucking Shit. That's it. And it's a line said by one of the, obviously one of the characters, but I'm looking forward to hearing him say that one. My current personal favorite.
Oh, and Michael, you're cleared hot to swear as much as you fucking want to.
I know you guys don't mind, just like have my own personal standards. So I mentioned there was like some oblique Hollywood interest. I've gotten the privilege of getting kind of friendly with this one sort of A-list Hollywood screenwriter who got in touch because he wanted to know what the status of the rights was, and really neat guy, and he's been really super supportive of me as a writer, and he's doing a pilot for a television series about basically it's two groups, one group of like sort of OGA type operators, and then one group of analysts who are basically doing the intel work, keeping the country safe and finding, rescuing hostages and attacking terrorist training camps. And he wrote me the other day and was like, I don't have a title for my show. And so I thought about it for about 3 days, and I couldn't think of anything. And then last night at the morning, I woke up and I sent him 90 possible titles that just like flooded in. One of them was a chapter title from book 10. And I really hope he uses this because it's very much my favorite. And the chapter title was Gods and Operators. I really like that. Reminiscent of the Civil War book, Gods and Generals.
Oh, that is badass.
Thanks, man.
I'm like my third whiskey already.
I know you guys are going to have to, like, if you want me coherent, you're going to have to get any last questions probably in the next however long. So,
well, we don't need coherent answers, right? We're just having fun. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
no, let it all go. Let it all go. Just let the spoilers fly.
I'm told this will be on YouTube and will be taking the piss out of me forever.
Oh, well, it's like everything. It's on the internet now, and it can never go away.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, now that we have have you become a full-fledged drinking bro, outside of the unlimited praise for your work, what have you enjoyed about the group and the interactions that have come about?
I'm tempted to say all the military stuff, but in fact, what's really impressed me is how super smart everyone is. Like interacting with you all has been great, and it's kept me on my toes. And Julia's, orchestrated all this stuff behind the scenes and organized everything, and just been a blast to hang out with. And like a lot of intelligence, all the really smart people.
Don't tell us that; it'll go to our head.
We know when you're lying.
How much were you paid to say that?
Ability.
You don't want to know, but y'all are going to have to buy more T-shirts.
No, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you.
No, it's true. It's been, I feel it's been a privilege to be admitted to this sanctum. It's a really cool group.
I think that's the first time we've been called a sanctum.
Well, it's like, invitation only.
One of us.
One of us. One of us.
I'm worried that I'm not geeky enough, but, I can fake it.
No, we've got a cover, but we just require you to be a decent person.
Fair enough.
And also, I think amongst our community, we've got enough resources that you can go into research heaven for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I don't want to be mercenary, but that would be incredibly valuable. Sure.
Well, we definitely have the people you could ask, that's for sure.
Just don't talk to Ethan. He'll have you playing World of Warcraft within 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's
Should
dangerous.
not be an excellent use of my time. some of you guys are in Georgia, and my family's in Atlanta, and I'm there every year for Christmas. So I'm looking forward to meeting somebody at some point or other.
Oh yeah, and by the way, if you would ever just care to come down to Dragon Con in Atlanta, we would love to have you.
Julia.
That's really kind.
I was just going to say, if you can see on our screen, there's a painting there that we will be gifting you.
Oh no!
Can you
More
see it?
kindness. Yeah, totally. Oh wow, that's a pretty good zombie.
That's you as a zombie.
That's me.
Yeah, I'll send you a
Wow.
better picture of it.
Oh, is that the picture that he drew? That's awesome.
Yeah, my boyfriend painted that. And that's Darren White. So there we go.
That's like instantly the best gift I've ever gotten. That's amazing.
Did you talk about the other stuff?
And there's also another set of gifts that are coming your way.
That's right.
As much as you appreciate our community, we appreciate you. And there is a Drinking Bros Nerds t-shirt and a copy of Range 15 coming your way.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow. I couldn't ask for anything better. If you don't mind if I cut the sleeves off and wear the t-shirt running around Kensington.
Team Tank Top!
Yes, Team Tank Top, yes! So there's a contingency, this is the inside joke, there's a contingency of us girls that like the tank top, so we cut up every shirt that we get to the consternation of all the guys.
I'm sure they're really offended.
Oh, yeah, we hate it
actually
so
are.
much.
Well, no, whenever I do it with a Ranger Up shirt, Aaron gets really pissy.
That's because it's fucking sacrilege.
Sacrilege.
Well, how else am I supposed to wear them at the gym? You gotta cut the sleeves off.
Right.
Otherwise, they just rip to shreds because I'm so buff.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's what it's there for. You can't be super swole if you're not ripping up shirts.
How big are your arms, actually?
And buy more Ranger Up stuff.
I don't know. How big are my arms? You guys have seen them.
Well, I mean, if we're going caliber, I'd say like a good 38.
Aw, womp womp.
Well, I mean,
Tommy's got.
You're not at 50 cal or and you're definitely not at 338 Lapua mag, but.
No, I'm not like Rocco big.
Tommy does Wonder Woman justice. Let's just say that much.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah, how I picture Wonder Woman would be in real life, that's what Tommy's guns look like. I don't picture Wonder Woman.
So, at the Planet Fitness, did you have to sign up for a concealed weapons permit?
Yes.
You know, when you wear long sleeves?
They didn't even let her in. They're like, no, instant lunk alarm.
Well, you guys, as much fun as this has been, we're at our 2-hour marker, so I think it would be time to unfortunately say goodnight for everyone.
Good morning for me.
Or good morning. I mean, we can keep it going, but we can, the YouTube or, the live feed, we could probably come to a close.
It's been a total blast. I can't thank you guys enough for having me on. It's a real honor and privilege. It's been great fun.
It was a lot of fun, and I don't want it to end. I just figured 2 hours for live is enough.
And we can continue on TeamSpeak?
Yeah, we totally can.
You have to be really careful with Neil and TeamSpeak because, I mean, it can end up being a whole nighter thing.
That is true.
It was last time. I was up with Neil and Kristen until 4 in the morning on TeamSpeak.
Was it a series of dramatic pauses? It was alone. It'll keep you up half the night.
Yeah, and don't interrupt the pause.
Interpersonal ellipses are real and they're good.
So, Michael, if you're timing your drinking and you want to stay on, now's about when you want to just, to continue the buzz, because if you've been drinking hard, it's going to go all night.
Well, it's already morning for him, right? It's 4 for you?
4:05. 4:05.
Great, well then you don't even have to with the coffee.
Perfect.
Yeah, right. I was thinking about mixing coffee and booze. Yeah, if we could not have the rest of this on the internet till the end of time, that would probably.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well,
You're in luck. TeamSpeak's not recorded.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining, and if you can, go to Amazon and give him a review that's well-deserved. I don't even have to say write a good review, because I know it's already going to happen. So just go and tell them exactly how you feel, because it's fucking awesome.
Write the reviews. You're right for range 15.
Exactly.
Don't mention Jared Taylor's up the girlfriend.
Jared Taylor doesn't sleep with girls.
He sleeps with chocolate cake and freedom fudge
And ho-hos.
And French
And makes
presses.
mixtapes.
And Jimmy John's.
and Jimmy John's, right?